Hey everyone, welcome back to day 2 of our AI learning series. So, if you were here for day 1, you know I promised we'd start with the absolute basics. Today, we're tackling the big one. What does AI actually mean? And don't worry, we're going to skip the dense textbook jargon and the academic papers and just explain it using a simple framework literally everyone gets. Seriously, what does it mean? You hear it everywhere, in the news, in your latest software updates, you name it. But if you had to define it right now, on the spot, without using words like algorithm or neural network, could you do it? It's tough, right? So we're ditching those complicated definitions entirely today. Instead, we're going to answer this using something you already know inside and out.
To answer this, let's use an analogy. Think about learning to drive a car. Picture yourself in the driver's seat for the very first time, hands gripping the wheel at 10 and 2. Back in those early days, you weren't really driving, were you? Step 1 was just following fixed rules. Someone literally sat next to you and said, "Brake here, check the mirror now, turn the wheel exactly this much." You followed it to the letter. But then, step 2 happens. You start experiencing hundreds of different situations. You drive in the pouring rain, you drive at night, you navigate a sudden traffic jam, and finally, step 3. After months or years, you build instincts. You stop thinking about every single individual rule. You just instinctively know when to slow down or when it's safe to pass. You learned from experience, not from some rulebook stuffed in your glove box.
And you know what? That brilliantly illustrates the exact difference between traditional computing and artificial intelligence. Traditional software is exactly like that nervous day 1 student driver. It runs entirely on fixed instructions. An engineer writes code that says, if X happens, do Y, and it will literally never do anything else. It needs a specific rule for every single scenario. But AI is the experience driver. It operates on experience-based decisions. It doesn't rely on an endless, rigid list of if-then statements. This shift, from rigidly following instructions to making fluid, experience-based decisions, is the fundamental leap that separates the software we've used for 50 years from the AI we're seeing today.
So here is the core of it. Artificial intelligence is basically technology built to perform tasks that normally require human judgment. We're talking understanding context, reasoning through a problem, and making a decision, rather than just blindly executing fixed commands. Think about our driver again. Hitting the brakes because a ball rolled into the street isn't just following a command, right? It's understanding the context that, hey, a kid might be running right behind that ball. AI systems are designed to mimic exactly that level of judgment in the digital world.
Okay, so if AI acts like that veteran driver, how does it actually get the experience? Let's talk about how it learns.
This all comes down to AI training. You didn't master driving in one afternoon, right? You learned by driving through tons of varying situations, and your brain silently built patterns out of all that exposure. That is exactly how AI is built. Training means feeding a system massive volumes of data, millions of examples, texts, or images, so it learns the underlying patterns. It is effectively logging millions of digital miles. It learns these patterns so incredibly well that when it's faced with a situation it has never explicitly seen before, it still knows what to do. It just taps into that accumulated experience.
Now, theory is great, but why does this actually matter for you and me in real life? Let's ground this concept in everyday utility. Think about the AI-powered features you probably use all the time. Automated meeting summaries, those surprisingly helpful customer service chatbots, the smart replies predicting your next email, or even just the spam filter in your inbox. Every single one of these tools works like our experienced driver. When a chatbot handles a complex customer complaint, it wasn't pre-programmed with that exact question and answer. It's using its massive training, its experience, to generate the right response right there on the fly. The big takeaway for your daily workflow is this. These systems are recognizing patterns in real time, not just checking a fixed rulebook. Take your spam filter. It doesn't just block an email because it sees a list of bad words. Spammers are way too clever for that. They change their tactics constantly. Instead, the AI has read millions of spam emails and millions of real emails, and it has developed a literal instinct for what spam feels like. It catches the pattern instantly, adapting to new tricks without a human engineer ever having to write a new rule. But here is a crucial limitation. It's a huge nuance that most people completely overlook when they start using these tools. We kind of tend to think of AI as this one giant all-knowing brain, right? We assume if a tool says AI-powered, it's instantly flawless. But if we go back to our driving analogy, you'll see exactly why that assumption is a pretty dangerous mistake. Think about a 16-year-old who just got their license yesterday versus a person who's been driving a taxi in New York City for 20 years. Technically, they both know how to drive, they both pass the test, but their judgment in a split-second crisis
Wildly different. The cabbie has seen absolutely everything. The teenager has basically only seen the test route. AI models are exactly the same. Not all AI systems have equal experience.
This is the absolute obsession for AI engineers behind the scenes. Data volume and training quality completely decide how reliable an AI actually is. An AI model trained on a tiny, garbage dataset, that's your new driver practicing in an empty parking lot. Put it in real-world traffic and it's gonna make mistakes. But a model trained on vast, high-quality, diverse data, that's your 20-year veteran. The reliability of whatever tool you are using directly comes down to the quality and volume of the miles it drove during training.
All right, let's bring this all together. If you only remember one thing from today's explainer, make it this. AI is a system that has learned to drive through experience with massive amounts of data, instead of being told every single rule in advance. It is such a remarkably simple analogy, but once it clicks in your mind, every other crazy AI concept out there, machine learning, deep learning, generative AI, it all just becomes so much easier to grasp. You stop wondering where the code is, and you start wondering where the data is.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a quick question to test out this new mental framework. Can you think of another everyday skill, besides driving, that explains AI just as well? Maybe learning to play an instrument or picking up a new language? Think about how that shift from rigid rules to fluid instinct applies there too, and let us know what you come up with below. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Hit that follow bell and be sure to come back for day 3, where we are going to take this exact foundation and go one level deeper. Until then, keep learning and stay curious.